theyeshiva.net.
Tayir Yidden. We're up to Daf Daled Amud Beis. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 lines from the bottom, Daf Daled Amud Beis. After the entire conversation and discussion about what you do when you Daled others on Friday, what you do when you Daled others on Shabbos, when you read the Megillah, in the villages, in the fortified cities, in the unwalled cities, the Gemarah concludes and says, "The Kula al Mamiyah Megillah b'Shabbos loy karina." It's obvious that everybody holds that on Shabbos you can't read the Megillah. No kidding, because if that was not the obvious reality, if that was not the obvious law, then this whole previous discussion would be nonsensical, because we're saying that Yudalit is on Friday. So the question is, when do the fortified cities read the Megillah? Do they read it on Friday? Do they read it on Thursday? When Yudalit is on Shabbos, when do the unwalled cities read it? Do they read it on Friday? Do they read it on Thursday? Obviously, no one believes that you read the Megillah on Shabbos. Frag the Gemarah, my time? Why? Why? What's the problem? We do Kriyas HaTorah on Shabbos. We read the Torah every Shabbos. So why can't you take out a Megillah and read the Megillah on Shabbos? Yeah, it's a Megillah. It's a chelik of Chumash. You're allowed to read Chumash and Yehoshua, Shoftim, Nevi'im, and Ksuvim on Shabbos. It's not like there's a problem with reading a Megillah. What's the issue? Amar Rabbi. So Rabbi answered. And this is one of the very famous statements of Rabbi. It's brought in a few Masechtas in Shas, here in Megillah, and in Masechta Rosh Hashanah, and Masechta Sukkah, because it's relevant to each Masechta. Hakol chayavin b'kriyas Megillah. Everyone is obligated in reading or hearing the Megillah. Ve'ein hakol pkiyin b'mikra Megillah. But not everybody is fluent and bucky, knowledgeable in reading the Megillah. Thus, the Chachamim prohibited reading the Megillah on Shabbos, despite the fact that it's Purim, and despite the fact that the Anshe Knesset HaGedolah in the time of Purim instituted to read the Megillah on Purim, Gzeira, because of a decree. Shemo yitlena biyadoi. A person wants to fulfill his obligation to hear the Megillah on Purim, and it's Shabbos, and he doesn't know how to read the Megillah, and in his eagerness and yearning to go read the Megillah, he may become overwhelmed with his obligation and completely focused on what he has to do, forget about Shabbos. V'yitlena b'yadei, he may take the Megillah in his hand. V'yelech etzel baki lilmud, and he will go to an expert to learn how to read the Megillah, or I guess to hear the Megillah. V'yavirena arba amas b'rshus harabim, and as he goes to this expert, he may take the Megillah and walk with it 4 amas, 4 cubits. An amma would be around 1.5 feet, between 1.5 feet and 2 feet. So approximately even 6 or 8 feet in a public domain, which would be prohibited min ha-Torah on Shabbos to carry something in a public domain if you walk 4 amas. Good question. Very good question. So why is Kriyas HaTorah mutter on Shabbos? Why is Kriyas HaTorah mutter on Shabbos? You're saying, I want to hear Kriyas HaTorah. I want to hear Kriyas HaTorah, right? So I'm going to go to a Baki in Rishus HaRabim, yeah, after my meal or before my meal, and say, do me a favor, teach it to me or read it for me. An interesting question. It's an excellent question. The answer for this is there's in Megillah there's a sefer Chidushei Reb Moshe Me'imran, and he asks this question, and he says a wonderful answer. And the answer is, he says, the chiyuv of Kriyas HaTorah is on the tzibur, not on the yachid. In other words, Kriyas HaTorah I can't read myself. I have to do it with the community. The obligation is, davening is a chiyuv on me. Of course, it's better to daven with a minyan. But even if I'm alone somewhere, right, for Shabbos, I still have to daven. Just like Krishma, just like Birchas Hamazon, just like Megillah. Kriyas HaTorah is not that way. Kriyas HaTorah, you must have a minyan. It's a chiyuv only on the tzibur. You can't do it on the yachid. Because it's a chiyuv only on the tzibur, so therefore there's no individual who says, oh yeah, you have to do kriyas HaTorah. I need a minyan for it. The moment you already have a group of people, we're not afraid that the person is going to start carrying a Sefer Torah to go to a baki to be able to read for him kriyas HaTorah, because you can't do it b'yachid, you need a tzibur. Megillah is a very individual thing. Of course, it's better to do it b'tzibur, but as we know, I have my own Megillah in my house. I didn't hear kriyas HaTorah, let's say I came from a trip or wherever it was, or whatever the circumstances were, and it's Shabbos, I may go over to your house and say, help me read the Megillah. Because whenever you have to do something with a tzibur, we're not afraid about this, because we're afraid here of a mistake. We're not afraid that somebody wants to be Mechal Shabbos. If they want to be Mechal Shabbos, then no Gezeirah is going to help. Then they'll go be Mechal Shabbos. You understand? We're talking about somebody, they forget. I'm busy. Oh yeah, it's the end of Purim, I didn't hear the Megillah. You forget it's Shabbos. Kriyas HaTorah, you have a whole tzibur. What do you mean you forget? You need another 10 people. So now 10 people are carrying the Sefer Torah on Shabbos, and nobody remembered that it's Shabbos. The Chachamim wouldn't make such a gzeirah. You understand? It's far-fetched. You're right, but you're right. The mitzvah, we're going to see the next sugi. The mitzvah is it's much better to do it b'tzibur and b'rab and b'rab madras melech, but there's still a chiyuv on the yach, just like tefillah. It's a big mitzvah to daven b'tzibur, but it's not a chiyuv only on the tzibur. It's a chiyuv on the yachid. Yeah. We do a seder with people, a seder of Pesach. But let's say I'm alone, I still have a chiyuv to do a seder. I have to eat matzah and eat mar and read Agadim. The Mishnah says, even if there's nobody there, you ask the questions to yourself. The point is, a lot of mitzvahs, lechatchila, there's only a tzibur. If there's no tzibur, there's no mitzvah. Saying kedusha, saying kaddish, kriyas HaTorah. There's no kriyas HaTorah without a tzibur. Megillah is also a chayvas yachid. That's the answer that Moshe Me'imran gives, and I see, well, that's how the Anshe Knesset Hagdolah made Purim. They didn't just make it a communal event. Even a Jew alone in an island, for whatever reason, takes a Megillah and he reads it.
Jew on the island also takes it.
No, he doesn't. You can't.
The person is sick. He's reading Chumash.
No, you could learn Chumash, you could learn Megillah a whole year, but the mitzvah of Kriyas HaTorah is only b'tzibur. It's like Kedusha, it's like Baruch Hu. I can't say Kedusha myself. I mean, I could read the Psukim in Yeshaya. There's a sefer Meiser Rav that brings different hanhagas and ideas from the Vilna Gaon. So he says over there on the minig by many, even though it's not brought on Shulchan Aruch by the Bris of Karo, but the minig in many cases is that you read on Yom Tov the Megillah of Hashirim, whether it's Pesach or Rus on Shavuos or Kehelis on Sukkos. You do it in Beis HaKnesses B'tzibur, and in Meiser Rav Magra says you do it even on Shabbos. So the Pula Sacher has their footnotes. He says they asked the Vilna Gaon, I don't understand. Megillah, Shofar, and Lulav who made a gzeira not to do it. So why didn't they make the same gzeira on Shehashirim, Rus, and Kaihelas in the Shul B'tzibur? There's taka those who don't do it. In Shulchan Aruch itself, it doesn't bring it. Right? Some Kehilas don't, but many do. So he said that Megillah, Shofar, and Lulav are the Chayvas Yachid. Kriyas HaTorah and all these Megillas, there was no Kviyas on the Yachid, only on the Rabbim, and then we are not afraid that a minion of Jews or more are going to make this mistake. So the Gurul Nagon brought it about the Megillas on Yom Tov, but again, it says it already by Kriyas HaTorah on Shabbos and Chidushe Reb Moshe Meimra. This is Rabbi's statement. V'hainu taima de shofar, v'hainu taima de lulav. The same reason they made not to blow shofar on Rosh Hashanah, that's Shabbos, and not to shake lulav on Sukkos, that is Shabbos. In all these situations, you need expertise. Not everybody knows how to blow shofar. Not everybody knows how to do the nanuyim of lulav. You may have not learned it before Sukkos. And therefore, I'm going to take my lulav and go to you on Shabbos. I'm going to take my shofar and go to you on Shabbos. I need you to blow the shofar for me, or teach me how to blow the shofar. Teach me how to shake the lulav. And the Chachamim were afraid of this. And because they were afraid of this, what did they do? They eliminated, they made a gzeira, and nobody should blow shofar, shake lulav, or read the Megillah on Purim, Rosh Hashanah, or Sukkos that fall out on Shabbos. This is a fascinating gzeira of the Chachamim. How long after they did the Megillah, after they made the Takana of Purim? The truth is that most gzeiras of the Chachamim were made during Bayis Sheni. Right, most of the fences that the Chachamim created to protect us from prohibitions min Torah were made during the second Beis Hamikdash, which is all after the miracle of Purim. I don't know that we have a date for this. Rabbi is not the time that the Gzeira was made. Rabbi is explaining the Gzeira. In halachic literature, it's called Gzeira de Rabbi. Some people make a mistake that it was Rabbi's decree. It wasn't Rabbi's decree. Rabbi explained why, because as we see the Mishnah already, there's no reading the Megillah on Shabbos. And Rabbi is an Amoira many years after the Mishnah. So Rabbi is not initiating the decree. Rabbi is explaining the decree. Gzeira de Rabbi means it's just his explanation. Yes, this means that there was a time, perhaps, on Purim where they did lay on Shabbos. Of course, today this would be irrelevant because in our calendar, Purim can't be on Shabbos. But during the time of the Gemarah, including the time of the Mishnah, of course, they were Mekadesh the Chodesh according to witnesses, and Purim could easily fall out on Shabbos. So it was not a question. Yes, Shushan Purim could still fall out on Shabbos. But so Taka in Yerushalayim, they don't read the Megillah then. They don't read the Megillah then. They'll read it on Friday. That's what we discussed before. But by us, there's no issue because Purim could be Friday, but Purim can't be on Shabbos. Tosfos asks a very interesting question here. Tosfos asks a question, if you'll take a look, you see, the first Tosfos on the Avdallah Amid Beis. What does the Gemarah say? You may carry it 4 amas in Rishus Harab. There's a halacha l'Moshe Messina. He doesn't say clearly in Chumash that you're not allowed to take an object and walk with it in a public domain the distance of 4 amas. In fact, this is a tulda, this is an expression, offspring of the malacha known as hoitzah and achnasa, which is taking out or taking in an object from the private domain to the public domain, or conversely. What's the definition of a Rishus Harabim? Generally, a Rishus Harabim is a path that's designated for the public, or an area that's designated for the public. Now, there are many conditions. For example, it has to be wide 16 amas. It can't be a narrow road. It has to be wide 16 amas, which is close to 32 feet, or somewhere in the middle. Again, an amma is 1.5 feet or 2 feet. So that you're dealing with a very wide road or area. It can't have a mechitzas. It can't have walls. It's not covered with a roof. Yeah. Some people define a Rishus Harabim as a shitta that you have to have 600,000 people passing there a day. That's subject to debate. Rishus Harabim has conditions. Not every street where people walk is a Rishus Harabim, right? There's a famous, well-known in Halachim Masechah Shabbos, have something called a Carmelis. A Carmelis is a semi-public domain because it's not my private house that's walled, but it's still not a Rishus Harabim in Torah. It's called a Carmelis, which only the rabbis treated as a Rishus Harabim. Here the Gemarah says, what's the chashash? Shema yavrena arbamas b'Rishus Harabim. Why doesn't the Gemarah say something simpler? Shema yotzi enu mirishus hayachid l'Rishus Harabim. You're going to take it out from your house into the street. He doesn't say that. He says you're going to walk with it in the Rishus Harabim 4 amas. The Megillah is in my house. I'm going to take it out. That's what the chashash is. It's also Shema yavrena arbamas. The Gemarah makes sense, but why doesn't the Gemarah go to the first thing? Discuss the first thing, the initial thing, taking it out from your house, which is a Rishus HaYachid, into the street, which is a Rishus HaRabim. That's the question of Tosfos. Take a look. Kasha. Oh, so let's see. So he says, Kasha. This is actually much more common because the Megillah is in Rishus HaYachid and you're taking it out. They weren't so afraid about this because people often won't make a mistake because you're going out of your house, so there's something very visible and tangible to remind you. You're leaving your house, and the Megillah is not this little tiny key, stuffed in your pocket. It's like you're probably holding it. You have to take the Megillah. But sometimes the Megillah is already in a Rishus Harabim, and now you may carry an arbamas b'Rishus Harabim. Let's say it's near the Shul or near the home of the person, outdoors. And now you may not realize Dalet Amas, that's the point. In other words, it's already outdoors in a Rishus Harabim. Let's say it's near the Shul, let's say it's near the person's home, and you may carry a Dalet Amas near his home to get into his home. And that's where there's a concern. In other words, you're right. That can also be a problem. But when they wanted to discuss the Gzeira, they wanted to discuss something that perhaps is more common. Also, sometimes it won't be a chi of chatos, meaning you won't be obligated to bring a sin offering, even if you make this mistake, because for that you need an akira and a hanacha. You have to uproot it from Rishus HaYachid, take it from Rishus HaYachid, and put it down in Rishus HaRabbim. But you have situations, if when you took it out, initially, this was not in order to bring it to Rishus HaRabbim. Let's say you want to move around things in your house. So when you pick it up, your intention was not to go outside. Your intention was to move it to another corner. And then you change your mind and you go out. So then you potter from a carbon chatas, mehai taima, because there was no akira from Rishus HaYachid to take it out to Rishus HaRabbim. You just wanted to bring it to another place in Rishus HaYachid, and then you took it out. The akira was not l'shem haitzah. So therefore, if I pick up the Megillah in Rishus HaYachid, let's say because I want to look at it, right? Not in order to take it out. So even if I take it out afterwards, it wouldn't be a chi of chatas. It wouldn't be an isser min hatayra. I take it out to Rishus HaRabbim, but if the original akira, the original retrieving, taking the Megillah was not to take it out, I wouldn't be mechuyev. A more common chashash is after I take it out to Rishus HaRabbim, right? Even if I stop for a moment to rest, and then I walk Dalad Amas B'Rishus HaRabbim, and I made an Akira and Anach in Rishus HaRabbim, that would be a Chi of Chatos. So Tosfos is saying, you're right, it would be the same issue, but the Gemarah, Rabbi wants to mention something that we think is more common. If you'll take a look in Rashi, Rashi says also, Yavirena Arba Amas. See, it's interesting, the briefness of Rashi. Va'afilu lon besade u'megillah biyadoi yesh ligzer ala davar. Even if he dwelled in the field and the Megillah is in his hand, would still be careful. What is Rashi trying to say? Pashat. A field is a karmelis. A field is not a Rishus HaRabbim. So taking it from the field outdoors to the public domain, that's not a problem. Minat Torah. With the Rabbanan, it's a problem. But Minat Torah, I'm taking it from a karmelis to a Rishus HaRabbim. It's not an Issa Minat Torah. That's what Rashi is saying. The Rabbi wanted to include more people and more situations. Let's say the Megillah is in a garden. Let's say the Megillah is in a field. Min HaTorah, it wouldn't be an Isra. It's not a Rishus HaYachid. It's a karmelis. But when I go to the Rishus HaRabbim, because I have to get to this person's house, and I have to go through, let's say, the public domain, here is my problem of Shema Yavirenu, Arba Amas B'Rishus HaRabbim. So that's how Rashi defines the question. It's interesting, the Gzeira, I think we have to understand the Gzeira, in other words, how much they appreciated the seriousness of carrying on Shabbos for Amos B'Rishus HaRabbim. In other words, imagine there's a nuclear reactor, okay? I don't know. We don't have to go, maybe that's not the mashal, but something that's extremely, extremely hazardous and dangerous, right? And somebody builds a huge fence, and they spend a long time building this fence. Yeah. Somebody says, you don't need it, just put a sign. Just put a sign, don't get close, right? Say, no, this is too dangerous. I have to do whatever I can for that person who doesn't read signs, and for that child who's ran away from his house, and doesn't listen to his mother, and doesn't listen to his father, and doesn't care about signs. I need to make sure and be extreme, because if somebody gets close to this, Hashem Yishmerenu. I think that's how we have to understand it. We say, okay, so carry our Bahamas B'Rishus HaRabbim. It's a mistake. He forgot it's Shabbos. Chazal didn't see it that way. You know, back to what we learned before, when you see certain realities, you see the power of certain realities in the positive or in the negative. They're like, for that one, tell me another question. How often do you think would this happen? Let's say we read the Megillah on Shabbos. How often do you think would this happen? You know Jewish communities. Okay, the truth is they lived in a very different society. Jews lived in farms and fields, sometimes away from communities. It's true. Not everybody could come to Shul. The entire lifestyle At night, people didn't go out. We're used to night days. Altes Albazach in New York. Some people wake up at night. Nightlife is as vibrant as day life. In the city, it's even more vibrant. There's light everywhere. There's electricity. We do have to understand they lived mamish completely in a different type of society on so many different levels, which included also tremendous limitations and also in terms of education. Today everybody has an education. The concept of Amei Ha'aretz that they had in the time of Chazal, you have made Jews who are completely alienated from Judaism, but they're very well educated in other areas. So we do have to understand the differences of culture, but you see the Gzeira is a very extreme Gzeira. And because of that, they were ready to take away the mitzvah from everybody, including tzaddikim, chachamim, G'dolei Yisrael, Yirei Shamayim, Erlech. Nobody could blow shofar Rosh Hashanah. Nobody could shake lulav on Shabbos, and nobody could read the Megillah on Shabbos. Why? For this one Jew, it tells you a lot about their Avos Yisrael. We don't look at it that way. He's a prostyak. Let him go get an education. Let him learn more Hilchos Shabbos and this. Let him wake up early in the morning and come to Vasikin and he'll hit the Megillah B'tzibor. He missed the minyan, yeah? Because he slept in. Right? But they didn't look at it this way. For this one Jew who's going to forget it's Shabbos, which is a big thing, and going to carry a Megillah because he wants to do the right thing. So they took away the mitzvah from everybody. It's a psa. Huh? Yeah, that's what some people felt. So Rashi is telling us that Rabbi wanted to say even somebody who's sleeping in a field with a Megillah, there's still a chashash. Why? Because Haitzah won't apply. Only if he's in his house. But if he's in a field, there's no Haitzah Mirshus HaYachid. But Havara would still apply. Now here we have a concept and a question. How can the Chachamim do this? Megillah Mela came from the Chachamim. Even then, they're being mevatel the Anshe Knesses HaGdolah. If they're not Gadol b'Chacham or b'Minyan, we learned before, they can't be mevatel l'Gzeira. What about Shofar and Lulav? Is a mitzvah sesim in a Torah? The Torah says to do it, and they say not to do it. How can this happen? God says yeah, and you say no. So here we have a fascinating concept. The Gemarah discusses this in Yevamis. Yesh koyach b'yad chachamim, laker mitzvahs min ha-Torah b'sheva al tasa. The Torah gave Bezdin the right to uproot a mitzvah if it's passive, not active. Meaning, if they're telling you not to do it, not to do something against Torah, but just not to do a mitzvah, they have a power to be an oiker, of course not stam, with a good excuse, with a good explanation. This is a koyach b'yad chachamim to be oiker davim in ha-Torah. Al pi pnimiyus, I should just add that the Balatanya writes that on Shofar, on Rosh Hashanah and Sukkot and Purim, what Shofar and Megillah and Lulav accomplish, Shabbos accomplishes. That's why the Chachamim were aware of this. This is al pi pnimiyus. There's a certain energy that Shofar, Sukkah, Lulav, and Megillah accomplish. The Chachamim were aware of this. That's why they could make the Gzeira. But al pi pshat, since it's Sheva al Tasa, so the Chachamim can do it. Another very fascinating question that Tosfos brings up is they should have made a Gzeira on one more thing. We discussed Kriyas HaTorah on Shabbos. What about so Matanos Lavyonim, obviously we don't do, we'll see that in a moment. But what about the Seder on Pesach? Seder on Pesach. We don't do Lulav, we don't do Shofar, we don't do Megillah. We do a Seder on Shabbos. A Jew may not know what to do. And yeah, I'll bring the Haggadah to you. I'm going to come with you to matzah. How much do you know? Because actually Seder has much more details. What's a kazayis? What's a chilas pras? How much, people sit? How many matzahs? What is what's not a kazayis? Reb Chaim, no, the chazonish. How much maror? I'm going to come to you with my matzah and maror Friday night on Shabbos. And be ma'avid Abraham is Bris Rabbim. You have to end for them. Seder, Friday night, Pesach. Why didn't they make this Gzeira? You're saying because the Korban Pesach was b'chabura, so it was with groups. You're saying it's with groups, so it's like Kriyas HaTorah. You're saying it's like Kriyas HaTorah. Right, it's not like Kriyas HaTorah, you could do it yourself. Right, so for that person who's doesn't know how to do it, and he's not doing it with a group, and he's going to go to a bucky and figure it out, but it's interesting that Pesach they didn't touch. The Seder they didn't touch. I'm just mentioning it. You would think they would, they didn't. Another question is a bris milah. Also they didn't touch.
Not everybody carries the knife.
So Tosfos asks that question. The second Tosfos, take a look. You have Ren Arbamas B'Rishus Harabim. Tosfos says, Avol milah b'Shabbos ein litchos. What about a bris on Shabbos? No. I'm making a bris. So I may take the knife and go to a bucky and say, teach me. So Tosfos says, I'll tell you two reasons. First of all, Hamila hachamira shekeniches ala yud gimel brises. 13 covenants between Hashem and the Jewish people says about bris. Torah it says 3. Milah, 13 brises. 13 times that a bris is the covenant, and the Chachamim didn't want to postpone that even for a day because of the seriousness of milah. The gam ein adam mol elim kein have a bucky. There's another reason. You don't circumcise your child if you're not an expert. The sakana yesh bedavar. You think so, huh? There's a danger. So therefore, to go on Shabbos, the day of the bris, could you teach me how to do a surgery on my child? That's not going to happen. So therefore, we're really not worried that you're carrying knives to figure out how to do it. So therefore, it's not an issue. You have to be a bucky. You're not going on Shabbos to be a bucky.
Even if he's going to teach you, he's not going to bring your own knife.
Huh?
Even if he's going to teach you, he's not going to bring your own knife.
You'll use his knife, you're saying. Huh? Oh, you're asking, you'll carry the baby. Or the moil will carry the knife. Not you. The moil is coming from his house, right? He'll take out the knife from his house, or wherever he is. Even if he leaves the knife, if there's Shusar Rabin, there's a place. The same chashash should be about milah. So the first answer of Tosfos we understand. Mitzvahs milah has a special chumrah. They mamish didn't want to tamper it because 13 brises. That it's a covenant more than anything else in the world. It's the only mitzvah says, say with Pesach, that's a chiyuv kares. Only mitzvah. Fakert, you're right. Shabbos is mentioned so much in Chumash, also as a bris, right? That's why they were so afraid of Shabbos. You're right, but still, legabe milah, they didn't want to push off milah. I once saw there was a yid from Russia. He was doing work with Russian Jews who came from Russia. So in the early 80s, he wrote a letter to the Lubavitcher Rebbe. There's a whole group of Russians, and he convinced them. They agreed they want to do a bris. They want to do a bris, and therefore he arranged a date. He wrote like in a week or 2 weeks, he's doing the bris. He's going to do a whole ceremony and this. So the Rebbe wrote back, the milah has Yud Gimel brises between Hashem, and you're going to wait 2 weeks? You're going to wait 2 weeks? Please try to do it tomorrow or even today, and get the moil, get the sandik. If there's any expenses, I'll cover it. So this is really what they didn't even want to push it. This is really the idea of Torah. They didn't even want to push it off one day. You'll do it Sunday. It's too serious. What about the bris? Oh, it was hard for them, you see. Right. I hear. Matzah, morer, kazayis, agoda. You eat matzah, you ever see what goes on? You know, people sit with scales to weigh how much matzah, morer, achilas pros. Not kavona. And lulav. Azoy. No Pesach, you don't have to know. I'm going to come with my matzah. How do I do it? We're talking about an Einei Baki. We're not talking about somebody who grew up in a Yiddish system. What bracha I make, when I eat it, how much I eat, how much more. You're saying, why are you taking your matzah? I'm saying you can also ask him his lulav to show him on his lulav, but you might take your lulav. You want him to show you. Okay. Huh? Another reason for Milah on Shabbos is brought, the Meiri says, because the heter to be mal on Shabbos is learned from a pasuk, from an extra pasuk. Right? It says in Parshas Tazriah, Ubayom Hashmini Yimel, they learn from the extra words that it's even b'Shabbos. So he says it's almost like the Torah says clearly to do the Bris Bayom Hashmini. Since the Torah says it clearly, so therefore the Chachamim don't have the power to prohibit it. It doesn't say to blow shofar on Shabbos. We'll blow shofar on Shabbos. That's what he says. Says another reason. Finally, the Meiri also brings a reason that by Megillah, it's an obligation on everybody at the same time. And everybody is busy with their own thing. But Milah is basically just the father and the moel. Everyone else doesn't have an obligation. So when the father or mother is going to run to bring a baby, right, or going with a knife, or the moel is coming with a knife, there's plenty of people who are not busy and they're not stressed and they don't have the obligation, and they're going to remind them. So that's another reason why they felt that Milah is not a chash. Al derech kriyas haTorah b'tzibur. In other words, there's a lot of people, and in here it's not a tzibur, but there's a lot of people who are not. They're not bold. They're not stressed. They don't have the responsibility. Tosfos asks another question. Achnish al Aryeh Levi eich toiken mitzvah Yom Kippurim halei asur lasas malacha ad sheyavdel. How do we blow mitzvah Yom Kippur? You're not supposed to do malacha until you make havdal. The tkiyas shofar is considered a malacha. You're not supposed to do it on Shabbos, a regular Shabbos. You don't blow shofar. It's called uvdin dechayil. So why do you do it? Mitzvah Yom Kippur v'su shema yelech etzel baki kedechashinam b'Rosh Hashanah shechal b'Shabbos. Before Havdalah, you may go to an expert to teach you and bring it b'Rishus Harabim, just like Rosh Hashanah on Shabbos. Yom kein hayalan olamecha shlahai gzeira. V'tiritz, he answered the mishum that tkiyas shofar chachma ve'en melacha, because tkiyas shofar is considered a chachma, not a regular melacha. V'loy chashinon sheyema yelech etzel baki the mishum tkiya achas she'ena ele mishum zeicher leyovel loy itzterich kulahai k'Rosh Hashanah d'oraisihi v'tzarich shloishim kailas. Yeah, in other words, we're not afraid, What? We're not afraid that you're going to go to the baki because you have to do one tkiyah. What do we mean one tkiyah? Zeicher liyovel. We're Rosh Hashanah, so therefore you don't feel the obligation. Rosh Hashanah is a chiyuv d'oraisa. You have to do 30 kailas, and therefore you're going to go to the baki. So therefore he says we're not worried about Yom Kippur, that he's going to be chosh Hashem Avar before Havdalah. So the truth is that tkiyah shofar on Shabbos you're not allowed to. But it's not biblical, it's only rabbinic. Right? It's only rabbinic. But biblically, you're allowed to play an instrument on Shabbos, even a regular instrument. We're not talking about electric, right? Rabbinically, you're not allowed to. So tkiyah shofar, you're also not allowed to on a regular Shabbos. But it's only rabbinic. So it's interesting, in the Shulchan Aruch Harav, he writes that because tkiyah shofar is forbidden rabbinically, so even on a regular Shabbos, even on Rosh Hashanah, it's still forbidden. Why didn't they take away that prohibition? Because it's Rosh Hashanah. The answer is Gzeira de Rabbi. It's a big chiddush. In other words, it's forbidden to blow shofar on Shabbos, rabbinically. Even on Rosh Hashanah, they didn't cancel it because of Gzeira de Rabbi. Tosfos here is discussing on Yom Kippur. On Yom Kippur, since it's a chachma ve'ena malacha, they allowed it even, I guess, before Mitzvah Yom Kippur. Even, he says here, Havdalah, could be, just means it's before Mitzvah Yom Kippur, you still do it. You may carry. You may carry. We're not worried you're going to carry Mitzvah Yom Kippur because it's not a psachi of d'oraisa, shloishim kailas. That's it. It's zeichel yovel. So therefore, it's not the same chash. Even on Yom Kippur, we're not afraid you're going to carry it. I was reading here, he says it's before Havdalah. He means you'll do it on Yom Kippur. Mitzvah Yom Kippur is fine. That's what he means. Rabbeinu Shmuel, but the dafke b'Shabbos Rosh Hashanah, the imaviria arba ames b'Rishus Harabim ikke isura d'oraisa b'havad yeshlachish. Avol Mitzvah Yom Kippur, the afili imaviria dal ames b'Rishus Harabim lehava el isur d'Rabbanon b'havad loy gazer dav gzeira l'gzeira. Mitzvah Yom Kippur before Havdalah. Even if you do it, it's only an Issa D'Rabbanan, and you shouldn't do Malacha before Havdalah. So it's only a Gzeira L'Gzeira, meaning, worst comes to worst, you'll carry it. And if you're carrying it, you're not over on the Issa D'Oraisa, you'll be over on the Issa D'Rabbanan. So that's why he says before Havdalah. Taka, if it would be Yom Kippur itself, it could be an Issa D'Oraisa, then there would be Taka Chshash, you wouldn't be allowed to blow Shofar, be Yom Kippur. Why? Because of this chashash. But since it's Mitzvah Yom Kippur, it's only a Yisro D'Rabbanan. Therefore, he tainas, it's not a problem because it's a Gzeira L'Gzeira. Okay.
Is there a special worry that
Remember, they didn't have printed Sfarim, so that's if you had a Sefer, it was a Megillah. Everything was handwritten. That's what people had. I'm saying, but if you had a Chumash, it was only a Megillah. If you had a Tanakh, it was only a Megillah. And people had Megillahs because that's what they had. They had nothing else. Today, the Sfarim, print press. Then there was only Megillahs. I mean, even Torah Shabbal Peh they didn't have.
Lulav, you have a problem.
Remember, even Torah Shabbal Peh. You're right.
Carrying the Megillah, what do we worry about carrying it?
No, but there's a mitzvah to read the Megillah, to hear the Megillah.
Bring it in the Shul and have it.
Okay, so you're saying it's not going to happen common. You're right. Another interesting thing is, this is fascinating, you're not allowed to read it on Shabbos. So what do? They made it to read on Friday, right? Or Thursday. In other words, they made compensation. You can't read the Megillah on Shabbos, let's do it another day. By Shofar and Lulav, they didn't do that. Why don't you say, blow Shofar Erev Rosh Hashanah? Shake Lulav Erev Sukkos? Blow Shofar the next day? They never do that. What happened? Megillah is only the Rabbanon. They made a compensation. Those are the things we canceling Megillah. Shofar, we're canceling. There's one day, today Rosh Hashanah is 2 days. Yeah? Sukkot is 1 day. You cancel Lulav. There's no Lulav. We taka shake Lulav 7 days. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai made a takana to shake 7 days. But Torah only shook the first day. No Lulav. Only in the Beis HaMikdash they did the first day. Some say Yerushalayim. If Rosh Hashanah wasn't 2 days, Rosh Hashanah was 1 day, there's no shofar. I don't know. Megillah you do Erev Yom Tov. You don't have a problem with that. Megillah you do Erev Yom Tov in Yerushalayim. If Purim, even today, Purim is on Shabbos, Tesvav. They read the Megillah Erev Yom Tov Friday. Why? That's what the Mishnah says. If Tesvav is on Shabbos, you go back. Some say Thursday, Friday. But remember, it's not the Anshe Knesset HaGedolah who did this. This is a later Chachamim who made a Gzeira. And now they changed the date. But the answer is, you're right. We learned in Daf Beis about Yud Aleph, Yud Beis, Yud Gimel, that in the Megillah, the Anshe Knesset HaGedolah wrote, L'kayim Yismei Purim Meila Bizmanehem. Zmanim Harbe Tiknu Lahem. Purim doesn't have one date. Purim has many dates. Yud Aleph, Tesvav, and another 2. That's why you can do Yud Aleph, Yud Beis. So the Chachamim thought maybe, you know what part of Bizmanehem is? That when Purim is on Shabbos, we give it another Zman. That was part of it. That's why they can do it. Maybe this was their kavanah. This is what the Rimi Linul says. This is the difference. Shofar and Lulav, sorry. Torah gives a date. You're afraid, don't do it. But don't start doing other dates. You're not going to start lighting Hanukkah candles on Purim and start shaking Lulav on Pesach and start eating matzah on Shavuos because I didn't have an opportunity to eat matzah on Pesach, so I'm going to eat matzah on Shavuos. It doesn't work that way. You had a day, You missed it, I'm sorry. Onus Rachmana Patre. And then he says one more vart, and that is Sukkos, you're still eating in a sukkah. You're not shaking Lulav, but you're eating in a sukkah on Shabbos. Rosh Hashanah, you're still doing Musaf, Malchias, Zechroinus, Shofris. You're doing all the psukim about Rosh Hashanah and about Shofar. So that Yom Tov is not forgotten even when there's no Shofar and Lulav. But Purim, even though you make a meal, and you can make a meal on Shabbos, but every Shabbos you make a meal. So Purim would be forgotten without the Megillah. You understand? You make a meal, but every Shabbos you have a chiyuv of a meal. Einik Shabbos. That's why they made, a second reason why they made sure to do a compensation for the Megillah. So this is Gzeira de Rabbi, why we don't do Megillah on Shabbos. Rabbi Yosef says, no, there's another reason. Fascinating. Social. This is because of tzedakah. The eyes of the poor people are lifted up during the reading of the Megillah, meaning when they used to get all the matanas la'avyonim, the gifts to the poor, at the time of reading the Megillah, presumably everybody would come to Shul. So the poor people knew this, everybody would gather, and this is when they would get so much matanas l'avyonim. Because on Shabbos you can't give matanas l'avyonim. Why? Because money is muktzah and forbidden to carry on Shabbos. So therefore, they canceled Mikra Megillah from Shabbos. Because they knew that the matanas l'avyonim of the poor is going to be affected, and they put it on a weekday when they could get their money. So Tosfos says something very interesting. The last Tosfos, he says, Al karchach tzarich loimer de Rabbi Yosef loy polig atayma de Rabbi. Rabbi Yosef is not arguing with the first reason. And I'll tell you why. The Gabi Shofar v'lulav lekatayma acharina. Shofar and lulav, you don't have this reason of poor people. So why does he have to add another reason? I'll tell you why. The lekashvus. In the Beis HaMikdash, ain't shvus b'mikdash. They're not afraid of all the rabbinic prohibitions. So in the Beis HaMikdash, you blew shofar on Shabbos. In the Beis HaMikdash, you shook lulav on Shabbos. The Beis HaMikdash, they would not read the Megillah on Shabbos. Why? Because of Rabbi Yosef's reason. Rabbi Yosef's reason is adding a new dimension that even in the Beis HaMikdash, there's no Megillah on Shabbos. Because that's where, at the Kaisel, that's where the collectors come. You think it's bad at the Kaisel. Imagine how it was at the Beis HaMikdash. So therefore, there you're going to deprive them because it's Shabbos. So therefore, no Megillah on Shabbos. Megillah is only on Yom Chal. That's the reason the Chachamim changed it. Because Einayim shel Aniyim Nesuyas B'kriyas Megillah. Perhaps also, I'm just wondering if, according to Rabbi Yosef, it may be that the Takana was much earlier. I don't know this, but maybe according to Rabbi Yosef, the Takana came, I don't know if it came originally from the Anshe Knesset HaGedolah, but it's not anymore about a Gezeirah of Shabbos that happened later, because remember, most Gezeiras didn't exist in Bayis Rishon. Muktzah actually is unique. Muktzah already is from the time of David and Shlomo, because when David died, Shlomo said, what am I supposed to do with the body on Shabbos? Muktzah already is early. But other Gezeiras come only by his Sheni or after by his Sheni. That's when the Chachamim became more alert about this. I'm saying, but Rabbi Yosef's reason can apply much earlier. I don't know, which would be, could be another Haisaf. Tosfos says the Haisaf is beside the Beis HaMikdash. That even in the Beis HaMikdash there was no reading the Megillah. But Rabbi Yosef is not arguing in principle with Rabbi. Tanya Nami Hachi, we have a brisa to support this. Afal Pisham Rukvar Magdim Aliyah Maknisa, Goivin by Bayayim, Machalkin by Bayayim. Even though the Chachamim said, the brisa said, that the villagers read the Megillah early, but Staka, you collect that day and you split it, you distribute it that day. In other words, if you're reading the Megillah Yud Aleph, you give Matanas L'Avyonim on Yud Aleph. That's what the Bris says. Ask the Gemarah, what do you mean, Afal Pishamru? Adirabba Mishumda Amruhu. What does the Bris mean? Even though they said you read the Megillah earlier, you still do Matanas L'Avyonim. On the contrary, it should say, because you read the Megillah earlier, that's why you do Matanas L'Avyonim. Why would you give Matanas L'Avyonim earlier if you don't read the Megillah earlier? Ella, he meant as follows. The Bris should be understood like this. Because the villagers read the Megillah earlier, therefore, Goivin Bayayim. You collect tzedakah that day from all the people. And you give it to the poor people that day. Because the time of the Megillah is a time that the poor people look forward to receive much more tzedakah than they would without the Megillah. They would have to go from house to house and house to house, and you're not home, and you went to the Shviga, and you went to the Suda. And it would really deprive them. So this is what the point is. Whenever you read the Megillah, Matanas L'Avyonim automatically gets inserted there. So this is a Gavaldika Yisoid for Rabbi Yosef. Why they would push it off from Shabbos to another day, it shouldn't affect the Matanas L'Avyonim of the Aniyim, which is a central theme of Purim, and they did not want to cause the Aniyim damage because of the sensitivity of the Chachamim to the poor people. Says the Gemarah.
This is a part of mitzvah.
Yeah. Not only that, as the Rambam says in Hilchos Megillah, if somebody can add shalach manas, if you have more money and you want to give more shalach manas, he says, no, much better to add matanas l'avyonim than to add mishlayach manas in order to be misameach the poor people. So he's changing the girsa. He's changing the girsa. Let's just finish this piece. Says the Gemarah. Avol, that's only matanas l'avyonim. Avol simcha einon eheges ela bezmana. But the simcha of Purim, meaning the Suda of Purim, that you do even in the villages, you do in the right time, meaning on your dalit. So this is an interesting thing. You may read the Megillah Yud Aleph, Matanis Lev Yoinim on Yud Aleph, but the Simcha of Purim you would do on Yud Dalet, which according to many Mefarshim includes also Shalach Manas, because as the Gemarah will explain later, many opinions, the idea of Shalach Manas is for the Suda. So if it's for the Suda, it would be the same day of the Suda. So the Gemarah doesn't mention that clearly. So this is the concept. Simcha, you keep on the right day, Yud Dalet. There's no reason to cancel that. Wherever you are, even if you're in a village, you can do the Simcha of Purim on Yud Dalet. This means also when Purim is on Shabbos, again, not our calendars, but when Purim is on Shabbos, you read the Megillah on Friday, right? Or they would read the Megillah on Thursday. Matanis Lev Yoinim would be given Thursday and Friday, but the Suda of Purim would be on Shabbos. The Suda of Purim would be on Shabbos, as the Gemarah says, by Yom. However, it's just important to mention here, and this becomes halacha l'maisa. There's a Tosefta Masechta Megillah that says that if the Gemarah is not talking about Shabbos here, the Gemarah is only talking about the villagers. If Purim is on Shabbos, then the Suda has to be on Sunday, not on Shabbos. Why? The Gemarah says the Simcha should be Bizmana. So he says, because it says in the Megillah, Lasas Oisam Yemei Mishta V'Simcha. They made them, the Anshei made them days of feasting and joy. That means Bezdin created it as a Yom Simcha. That means the Simcha has to be on a day that came from Bezdin. But on Shabbos, it's anyway a day of Su'udah, a day of Simcha. It's not L'Kovet Purim. So therefore the Yerushalmi says you have to make the Suda on a day that essentially is a regular day, is a mundane day. Lasas Oisim V'Mishtav Simcha. Not that God made it a Yom Simcha. It's a fascinating idea in Tosefta. It says if Purim is on, if Yud Aleph is on Thursday, if they're doing it on Thursday, then the Suda should be on Friday. You're right. Or the Suda should be on Yud Dalet. But if it's Shabbos, you have to do it on Sunday. That is what the Tosefta brings from the Yerushalmi, and that is brought lahalacha and the Rif and the Rosh, the Ran, Shulchan Aruch, Magen Avraham, Mishnah Brura, that the Suda you would do on Sunday. The Pri Chadar says to be machmer and do it both days, Sai Shabbos and Sai Sunday. What about Shalach Manas? Right. So if you say that the Suda is on Shabbos, many say Shalach Manas should also be on Shabbos. Right. If you say the Suda is on Sunday, many say Shalach Manas should also be on Sunday. Pri Chadar did Shalach Manas on both days. Some say when it's Shabbos, Shalach Manas had to be pushed off because you have the chashash of Shema Yavinenu. Another question is when you say Ala Nissim. When Purim is on Shabbos, when do you say Ala Nissim? Do you say it on the day that you read the Megillah? What about the Kriyas HaTorah of Purim, special Kriyas HaTorah of Purim? When do you do that? The Gemarah just speaks about the Suda. What about Ala Nissim? L'maisa, the minig that's accepted today, and it's only relevant in Yerushalayim and the cities where there's a Safek Mukav Chaim Monsey Yeshua Benun, because Tesvav could be on Shabbos. So you have a serious question. So what do? They do Mikra Megillah and Matanis Lev Yoinim, we do on Friday, as we see. You go back a day, right? So they do Mikra Megillah Matanis Lev Yoinim on Friday in Yerushalayim. Al HaNissim and Kriyas HaTorah of Purim, Vayavay Amalek, and the Haftarah of Parshas Zachar, they do on Shabbos, because it's Tesvav Adar, so that's when they do Al HaNissim. This is the day of Purim. Mikra Megillah you can't, because Gzeira de Rabbi and Aniyah. Matanis Lev Yoinim you can't, so that you do on Friday. And then on Sunday, they do the Suda and they do Mishloach Manas. That's why it's called Purim Mishulish, a triple Purim that goes 3 days. It's not Pshat Stam, it's a holiday. Every day there's something else. Friday, Mikra Megillah Matanis Lev Yoinim, Al HaNissim and the Haftarah and the Kriyas HaTorah on Shabbos, in addition, of course, to the Parshas HaShavua. And then Sunday is the big Suda and the Shalach Manas, which is connected to the Suda. There were those who would do a Suda both days, special, but Shabbos anyway doing a Suda. You don't do the Suda, because the Gemarah clearly says that mitzvah simcha nehegas bizmano. There's no reason to take away. You're right. So that's because of a Yerushalmi who adds that the Suda has to be in a day that Bezdin made it a simcha day. Bezdin made it a Suda day, not because Shabbos is a mitzvah Suda, mitzvah Einik Shabbos.
Friday you can make Bezdin.
You're saying why they don't do the Suda? Why they don't do the Suda on Friday? Make the Suda, just like we do, put them on Friday, we do the Suda on Friday. They should make the Suda. That's what I would say. In other words, if by us, it's purim, we have no choice. But since you're anyway pushing it off, you're anyway pushing off the Sunnah from the right day, you can't push Megillah to Sunday. Because Megillah says, V'lo yavar. Megillah you can't. You push it back. The Sunnah, it minimizes from Shabbos when it's on Friday, right? You try not to do things on Friday because tzarchei Shabbos. That's the vart. There's just a little piece. I just want to finish till the Mishnah. Mamash, a little piece. It'll be a few moments. I just want to finish this last piece till the Mishnah. Amar Rav makes a fascinating statement. Megillah bizmana kairnoi safila biyachid. This is back to your question above Rav. When you're doing the Megillah in its time, meaning your Dalet or Tesvav, you can read it even biyachid. You could do it even individually. It's a fascinating halacha. As Rashi says beautifully, the second Rashi, mitoich sheichayve boy b'yom al kol yachid v'yachid kairnoi safila biyachid the hakol kairn boy v'ikka pirsum anes. Since everybody is doing it, even individually, it's pirsum and nissa. The nessa is being publicized. Shaloi bizmana. But if it's not in the right time in the village, then only basara. Then you need 10. Why? Rashi says, "Going kfarim amagdim aliyah maknisa ein kairnoi sala basara the be'inim pirsum nissa." Because if I would do it individually, it's basically me and another 2 people or 1 person. So there's no pirsum hanes. If it's the day of Purim, the right time, you could do it biyachid because everyone is doing it biyachid. So you could do it biyachid. But he says, but shaloi bizmana, you need dafka asara. Now you might ask a question, if you could do it biyachid, so then why do they have to b'chlal make it in the villages earlier? Why they have to make it in the village? Let everybody do it biyachid. Do it in your own house. Though you don't have to come into the city. They did it because they don't want to come into the city. It's a shlep. It's a tercha. They don't want to take away something because purim. But you could do it biyachid. We also learned before that mevatel Talmud Torah, right? Beis Rabbi, they were mevatel Talmud Torah to go hear the Megillah b'tzibur. Let them read it on their own. So obviously the vart is that mitzvah min hamufchar. It's the greatest way to do the mitzvah b'tzibur and to be mahadir, to have a big tzibur. And that's why they stopped learning to go to shul. And that's why the villagers want to come in to hear it in the city with a minyan and so forth. But the point is, it's not an obligation. It's not a mitzvah. It's a special hidur. It's a mitzvah min hamufchar. If you want to stay in your village, your dalet, and read it biyachid, gesundheit, there's no obligation. You will yotze the mitzvah. That's obviously the pshat. That's what the Rishonim explained, the Rashba, the Ritva. Rabbi says, I'm sorry, I disagree. Bein bizmana, bein shaloi bizmana basara. You always need 10. Whether it's bizmana or it's shaloi bizmana, you need 10 for Pirsume Nissa. He understood that they wouldn't have made the villagers do it earlier if it was only a mitzvah min hamufchar. Obviously, it's much more than that. You need asara. Rashi says, mitzvah lechazer acher asara mishum Pirsume Nissa. Aval I loy ashkech asara loy. Amar Rabasi de loy likre. Shein isu kriyasa biyachid ela mitzvah lekriyasa basar. Even Rabasi would not say if there's no minyan, you're not allowed to read the Megillah. It's like, no, Rabasi's not saying that. At least Rashi learns that. Others disagree. But Rabasi is still saying it's not only a mitzvah min hamufchar. It's a mitzvah. That's the way to do it. Yes, b'di'evet, it's called b'di'evet. L'chatchila, Rabasi is being more machmer than Rav. Rabasi says the mitzvahs, you need 10. That's the way to do it. Not b'yachid. Rashi says even he would agree that b'di'evet, if there's no choice, it's the second best option. But the original mitzvah is to do it b'rab, even b'zmana. Yeah. Hava uvda, there was a maisa, put him on your dalet, and they needed to read the Megillah, and there were no 10 people. Even though Rav disagreed, Rav was choishish to Rabasi. He was concerned for Rabasi's opinion, and he made sure to get 10 people before reading the Megillah. As Rashi says, v'chazer al asara v'kiptzon. He got them. According to Rav, you don't need 10 people bizmana, even l'chatchila. Yeah, it's a mitzvah min hamufchar, but you don't need it. You could be yoytz the mitzvah, but he was choishish. He was choishish for Rabasi, and he wanted to get a minyan. Now, this is a very serious machlokes, and the Rishonim argue if the halacha is like Rav or the halacha is like Rabasi. Tosfos and the Rif and the Ramban and others paskin like Rav. They say that bizmana you don't have to look for 10, even though Rav himself did. It was a chumrah. Other Rishonim, the Raiva, the Rosh, the Tur, they paskin like Reb Asi because they say, look, Rav was Maida, and therefore they say that the halacha is like Reb Asi. And how you teach Reb Asi is also a question. Rashi says, b'di'evet, you can have a yachid, not a Rab. Others say Reb Asi means no, that you mamish have to have 10, you push it have to have 10. Okay, so this is a big machlokes. Doesn't seem that way, just says he was chayshish. The Gemarah says, Umi Amar Rav Hachi, did Rav really say this? That Megillah Shaloi Bizmana, you need 10? Really? He said that? V'amar Rabbi Yehuda Bereder B'Shmuel Bar Shil's Mishmei Rav. Rabbi Yehuda, the son of Reb Shmuel, the son of Shila, said in the name of Rav, Purim Shechal Liyaz B'Shabbos, Erev Shabbos Mana. Rav said Purim, that falls out on Shabbos, the time for the Megillah is Erev Shabbos. So the question is, what does he mean? Erev Shabbos Manam, HaShabbos Manam. What does he mean that the time is Erev Shabbos? The time is Shabbos. It's just it got shifted because it's Shabbos. In other words, if Rav just wanted to say that you're not allowed to read the Megillah on Shabbos, he could have just said Makdimin le'erev Shabbos. He doesn't say that. He says Erev Shabbos Manam. Like that becomes the new Zman of the Megillah. This means that it's the Zman. But Anshe Knesset Agdala didn't do it on Erev Shabbos. They did it on Shabbos. Right? The Chachamim said to do it on Friday like we learned before. But what does the Rav mean? That Erev Shabbos Manam, that's not a Zman. Elalav Hachi Kamar. You know what Rav means? That even though Shaloi Bizmanam, it's Kizmanam. Rav says even when you do it not in the right time, it has the same halacha like if you do it on the right time. Mas manam afilu b'yachid, av shaloi bizmanam afilu b'yachid. Just like when you do it in the right time, you could do it even b'yachid. Shaloi bizmanai also. So this would contradict what Rav said earlier. Because Rav said that when Purim is on Shabbos, the time is Erev Shabbos. What do you mean the time is Erev Shabbos? Time is not Erev Shabbos, the time is Shabbos. The Chachamim said you're not allowed to read it on Shabbos. So obviously what he means to say is that it has the same geder like Shabbos. Just like when you read Bizmana, you could do b'yachid. Shaloi bizmanai also b'yachid, which is a contradiction to before. So the Gemara says you misunderstood him. Loylin mikra Megillah basar. He was not talking about reading the Megillah with 10. Then you need 10. When you're reading the Megillah Shaloi Bizmanai, Rav says that you need 10 because it's not in the right time. Ella mai erev Shabbos manam la'afukim ed Rebbe. The reason he used this expression is to negate Rebbe. The Amar Rebbe said, "Hoyel v'nitchwa yaris memkaim when yidachal yom haknis." Rabbi, you remember, said that since the cities are being shifted already from Shabbos, go back to Thursday. That's what Rabbi holds. To the Yom HaKnis. Kamashmal and Rav says the Erev Shabbos manamhu. That's why he says, no, this man is Erev Shabbos. Not like Rabbi you said that you go back to Thursday. But he didn't mean that on Friday you don't need 10. On Friday you still need 10. On Friday, you still need 10. Now, l'chayda, you're going to say, why do you need 10? The whole reason you need 10 shaloi bizmana is because Pirsum in this, because not everybody is doing it. But here, everybody is doing it. Here, everybody is doing it on Friday. So why would you need 10? So it seems like the Pnei Yeshua says, you're right. You need 10 shaloi bizmana because in the villages, not many people do it. But the Chachamim generally didn't try. They tried to keep their takanas uniform. So therefore, they said whenever it's Shaloi Bizmana, you would need Asara. So even if it's because Purim is Shabbos, you would still need Asara, and Rav will maintain his opinion. Bizmana Taka, Rav says even B'yachid is fine to read the Megillah. Yeah. Pesach, yeah. No, Tosfos asked the question on Megillah. Yeah, the question is asked. Then Siv asks it. The Netziv and the Klei Chemda. The mitzvah comes through the Aveda. The Netziv asks the Shaila, the Volozhner Rosh Hashiva, and Reb Meir Dom Plotsky in Klei Chemda also asks the question. The Klei Chemda is Mechadish. The Netziv brings a riff that Bezdin used to send shluchim to people's homes to help them with the Seder. Yeah. They used to help Psachim. That's what the Netziv brings. But it's still tzarech biur because, there could be somebody who's a yachid. Again, if you're doing it barabim with a Seder, so then generally people remind each other. You're talking about a yachid who's not a baki. Remember, if he's sitting with a public Seder, they could remind each other, right? Like Kriyas HaTorah. The Klei Chemda says,
They used to send people because it was Chabura Pesach, so it was easier to train 20, 30 people at once rather than... The Rif brings this down in Aryeh Lev.
I could show you, I'll look it up. The Nitziv brings this. The Klei Chemda says it's a whole different mahalach. He says that the Chachamim, when they canceled the mitzvah, they relied on the Gemarah Menachas, Kala Oisik B'Teiris Oyla Ki'ilu Hikriv Oyla. When you learn the halachas, it's like you did it. So B'Meila, Shofar, Sukkah, Lulav, Megillah, learn the halachas. Learn Hilchas Shofar and you will Makayim Shofar. Learn Hilchas Lulav. Nu Pesach. He says, Pesach, women are mechuyev. And they're not mitzvah b'talmud Torah. So they couldn't cancel it. It's a chiddush. It's a gewaldige chiddush of the Klei Chemda, because if so, there should have been a chiyuv somewhere in halacha that on Rishon Shabbos, it's a chiyuv to learn Hilchas Shofar. There's no such halacha. It's a chiyuv to learn Hilchas Lulav. There's no such halacha. It's a chiyuv to learn Hilchas Milah. There's no such halacha. Taka says halacha shel chag b'chag you learn, but to say Rishon Shabbos you have to learn Hilchas Shofar, and that women can do it because Pesach is a chiyuv also on women. Shofar and Lulav is not a chiyuv on women. The question is also Megillah is a chiyuv on women. So you have the same problem with Pesach, with Purim. So today it's not negeya, but when they made the takana, it's a shveda inyan. With Pesach it's not so pashat. Huh? Yeah, I'll show you. I'll look it up. I could show it to you. No, the Aryeh Lev says, your malchus is a kleiner shofris, so you mekayim a mitzvah of Rosh Hashanah. Zichron Trua. Yeah. It's not shofar, but it's. No. V'dir the vart is kala oisik b'toiras oyla kilu hikriv oyla. No, that's not toiras oyla. That's not toiras shofar. It's a chelik of Rosh Hashanah. The Chachamim were mesaken to make brachas of malchus echronis and shofars. Nishtan shtot. The point is that even when there's no shofar, there's still inyanim of Rosh Hashanah that are celebrated, like sukkahs. You're sitting in a sukkah. We're not doing lulav, mezitz in a sukkah. But put him not, because the sukkah you're doing on Shabbos, matanas lovyonim you're not doing. Yeah? So mele. You're saying if you say alanissim on Shabbos, you're saying alanissim on Shabbos, so it's l'chayr like malchus achronis and shofris. Why does the Rimilunil say that you have to read the Megillah another day? L'chayr al hanissim you could say on Shabbos and kriyas haTorah also. Mele the first reason because Anshe Knesset Agdola made bismanem. The second reason you could do alanissim. This is interessante diuk. The truth is, I don't have the Rimilunil. I want to look up his lashon. I saw it brought in the Mefarshim here, and I wonder, Taka, what his lashon is. Because sometimes you see the original, and you get an answer to all these questions. It's a good shayla. L'cha'ir zog alanissim. Zog alanissim of Shabbos, and that takes away his second answer. I'm all in the Lashon, you could see the answer. Yeah. I didn't have, what's the Shaila?
No, he says we don't
You can't do the Megillah after Shabbos. It says V'lo Yaver. It says V'lo Yaver.
Yeah.
No, the Megillah can be Yaver. No, the Megillah allein. The Siddur Sturen can normal ist Altfratik, because wir gehen ins nächste Jahr do Idalet, macht man die Siddur Fratik. Ich glaube, wenn man die Shabbos
kann das stimmen.
The Siddur kann ja auch reden auf
Ja,
das.
das ist Megillah.
No Megillah, der Problem, du bist nicht gar nicht sagen.
Das so die
Siddur macht man Sinn überhaupt.
Ja.
Chaim Aliyah. Kimu v'Perek Tes Pasuk Kov Zayin. Kimu v'Kibla Yehudim Aliyah V'Zayim V'Lo Yaver Liyas oisim eshnei hayamim ha'ele kichsavim v'chizmanam b'chol shana v'shana. Flex 2, the V'lo Yavar should go also on the Suda. Huh?
Yeah, but the
Maybe
whole
if you say the
Suda is the Megillah, really. No?
You're saying the Lo Yavar should go on the Suda. Huh? The Gemarah says you can't read the Megillah Tezayin Yud Zayin because it says V'lo Yavar. So by Mela you can't go weiter. Flex 2, how do you do on the V'lo Yavar on the Suda? That's Flex 2. Huh? Askodas Hanes. Askodim V'nasim.
What Basiuda, you don't say Alanissim? It's a problem, huh?
No, they don't sell Anissim on Sunday.
Oh, they don't say.
They sell Anissim on Shabbos.
Benching that you don't say.
They don't even sell Anissim on Friday.
Oh, no? Oh.
It's an interesting, it's a real Purim Mishulish. It's a real Purim
We
Mishulish.
strip the day, that is the day. We mentioned Purim is really that day.
It's a big discussion because the Gemarah doesn't say clearly. The Gemarah just says in the villages you do the Suda on your Dalet. So we realize that the Suda has to be on the right day. Right? So the Cha'ira would deduce the same thing. Shabbos, the Suda should be that day. Which would make sense with V'lo Yavar, because you do the Suda that day. Tosefta says no. That the Suda you'd push off also, if it's Shabbos. Because it has to be a day that Bezdin makes it a Yom Mishta B'Simcha.
Der erste Mal, was man redet darin, ist Tezayin. Normal geht man gar nicht zu Tezayin.
Oh, it's
says
basically it's...
Tezayin, yeah, it's a Purim Mishulish.
Sure.
We say Bezdin has to make, because that means it has to be regular.
No, because...
We mean it's a regular weekday. It's Anshe Knesset HaGedolah made it a Mishta.
Say make it Monday or Thursday.
It says Lasas Oisam. In other words, Shabbos is not Lasas Oisam. Hashem made Shabbos a Yom Mishta B'Simcha. But Yom Simchaschem, Elo HaShabbos, as the Sifri says. And there's a Chiyuv Sudas Shabbos. The Gemara says Shabbos Mekatsha V'Kaima. Shabbos is a divine day of joy.
Maybe because you don't mistarif mitzvahs D'Rabbanan and mitzvah D'Oraisa, because Shabbos is a Seuda D'Oraisa. It's an obligation D'Oraisa. You cannot schlep into Seudas D'Rabbanan.
Right, no, I understand. That's the vort. In other words, you don't mix the two. I mean, it doesn't say in Chumash to make a Suda on Shabbos. It says there's a mitzvah to be Oineg Shabbos. Whoever karas lo Shabbos Oineg.
Oineg means...
So there's Oineg, Achila, Shia, Sus. I'm saying if somebody has an Oineg of fasting, so there's no chiyuv to eat on Shabbos. There is, because regularly that's Oineg, not to fast. But I'm saying the Torah doesn't say clearly to eat. Well, the Poyel, it's a Yom Mishta V'Simcha. That's the... Shaloi Bizmana, it's only Yechidim. So therefore, there's no Persuminis, and Megillah is Persuminis. So you bring a tzibur together. Bizmana, everybody's reading the Megillah. So even B'Yachid, he says it's fine, because I'm reading, you're reading, we're all reading it. So the Persumanes is not together, but the Persumanes is everyone is doing the same thing. It's also Persumanes. So that's Pshat, there's Persumanes, even though it's not Petzibur, because even if everybody does it B'Yachid, but we're all doing the same thing. That's a different type of person. Right. Yeah, listen, the halacha, most poskim paskin that you can do it b'yachin, but it's still a mitzvah min hamufcher, even according to Rav, to do it b'rabim. And for Reb Asi, it's not only a mitzvah min hamufcher, that's the mitzvah to dafka do it b'asar. You see, Rav was chayshish. Some say that Reb Asi means it's b'di'evid even, has to be asar. Rashi doesn't hold that way. But. No, Reb Asi held sai b'zman hashalai, sai shalai b'zman. Only b'asara, at least b'asara. Yeah. Okay. Lahalacha, the poskim that you could do it b'yachid b'zmana.
Even if I'm lazy to go to shul, I can still be yoytze.
Yeah. You could be.
I don't feel like going. I'm tired. I'll just lay it later.
According to everybody, mitzvah min hamufcher is to do it b'rabba, b'tzibur. According to Reb Asi, it's a mitzvah mamash to do it. According to Rashi, Taicha is b'di'evid, you're yoytze without it. Mitzvah is an obligation, yeah. But not just a hidur mitzvah, that's the obligation.
And Hashem is probably saying, wow, this guy, he is so Yossi. He put out the extra effort to do it.
But Rav holds not that way. Rav holds not, and many poskim like Rav. That's what Rav did. Rav wanted.
No, but
First
the effort,
to
everybody.
listen in Shul and then make another in the I'm reading the Megillah.
Rashi holds.
Nobody holds with the Yevet, you're
to
not
me,
Yotzim.
Some types of
With
Asi.
the Yevet,
Rabbi
Rashi holds with the Yevet.
Not Rashi. Rashi doesn't hold that.
Rashi, yeah. So his
Listen, the halacha in Shulchan Aruch, or Chaim, and Hilchos Megillah is that we're Yotzim b'Yachid, so that's what we do.
I think so. Katchila even.
If you cannot,
No,
If you
it's
cannot
if
read,
you
then
cannot,
you
it's, everybody says it's better to read it with 10.
for sure.
But if you can't, you read it b'Yachid. Yeah. That's the halacha in Shulchan
But
Aruch.
I need to say, my wife, when the kids must come in Shul, they can listen.
My secret.
They have the same chiyuv.
Yeah.
They must come. Maybe Zaido. It's Zaido to come to Shul. It's the.
Huh?
I actually.
The Ramah adds, and if they already read the Megillah B'tzibur in the city, let's say there's 1 million, and you didn't hear it, right? Then even lechatchila you could do it b'yachid, because they already read it B'tzibur. In other words, in the first case we said lechatchila you should go B'tzibur, but they haven't. But if they already read it and you didn't, he says even lechatchila you could do it b'yachid. Why? Because in that city they already did it. They already did it b'asara.
In other words, they make the persimmon. He's saying I'm reading.
They did b'asara mitzvah. Yeah.
Part of the whole idea of when you do is to make
Yeah.
it more comfortable for the tzibur. So,
Okay, the truth, the Mishnah Bris says that even in such a case, some people would argue and say even in this case you should try to look for a minyan. I see the Chazanish argues and says no, even lechatchila you don't need a sorta.
2 o'clock afternoon.
Huh?
You have every 15
no
minutes.
problem. Every
2 o'clock afternoon. We have
But they
evening.
always try to make it at home also.
Okay.
Oh, they want us
To
to
read,
speak.
to read the Megillah.
Definitely, yeah.
Last year, 5 meeting, they want
He's going the opposite way.
First of all, because I have a tremendous honor when my son reads it,
Yeah.
and reads it for the whole family. So, for me, that's the biggest persimmon.
That's great.
That's beautiful.
See, his child is coming from the opposite direction. He's in the she's with the minion lechatchila, and then also lechatchila he's leaning at home again.
Stam, there's in the Masifta Gemarah he brings a very interesting question. If you hold that the Anshe Knesset Agdola did it on Shabbos also, and only the Chachamim, right, canceled it from Shabbos and did it on Friday because of Gzeira de Rabba, so he says, what happens, a katan, a child, his bar mitzvah is on Purim Shechal b'Shabbos. Okay? He becomes bar mitzvah on Yedalet Adar. So, Maharil Diskin, Rabbi Shul Leib Diskin, who was the Rav of Yerushalayim, he was very well known, the Sarif of Bris, he was the Rav in Brisk, and then he went to Yerushalayim. Maharil Diskin and Rabbi Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld Paskin, in that case, there was a story that he should read the Megillah on Shabbos. Why? Even though everybody read on Friday. This was Yerushalayim. Because his chiyuv on Erev Shabbos was only as chinuch. He wasn't bar mitzvah yet. He was a baby. He was a minor. On Shabbos, he has a chiyuv as an adult. So he was not yotzeh the mitzvah with the kriya of Erev Shabbos. Okay, so and Shabbos, there's a chiyuv to read the Megillah from Anshe Knesset Agdola. They didn't cancel it Shabbos. So from Anshe Knesset Agdola, he has a chiyuv to read the Megillah. They didn't cancel it on Shabbos. The Chachamim later canceled it. So every hour the Jew heard it on Friday. So it's fine.
Since it's a yoch, it's not a problem of hearing bichlal, so he should definitely read.
Why wouldn't it be?
Because he reads where he is. He doesn't.
And they said we're not afraid of Shema Yavirenu because it's just a mitzvah. Just
No,
it's just a mitzvah on him alone, like by Milah, it's just him alone. It's not like everybody has to do it and everybody. So Mela he has to read the Megillah on Shabbos, right? Because he was not Yotzeh Erev Shabbos. I was Yotzeh Erev Shabbos. I was a gadol, but he was only mitzat chinuch.
You do it with Gershon is going.
That's what they passed.
The same shiloh.
Well, you don't do it on Shabbos. You don't do Geirus on Shabbos.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
But he says there was a famous posek in Shlomo Rabbi Akiva Yosef Schlesinger, and he and many of the poskim, I would say most poskim, argued, and they said No way, there's no heter to read the Megillah on Shabbos. And they completely argued with the premise. Yeah, because they said the moment the Chachamim did that, Yesh koyach b'yad Chachamim, so they were mafkia the chiyuv of Megillah on Shabbos. In other words, Friday became the zman of Kriyas HaMegillah, not Shabbos.
Yeah, but it's in this case it's like a double. It's a pain for him because he was born on
He was born on Yudalit. So he says, you're right, he's a katan, but that's the zman of the Megillah. Right? You don't say if Isru Chag Pesach, the second day of Pesach, I become bar mitzvah, yeah? So now I eat matzah. Yesterday was the zman of matzah, now it's not the zman of matzah. This was the zman. It's fine. You're not being over on a chiyuv. The Chachamim have a power to change the zman. They changed the zman. That was their idea. And then he brings another raya. The Kinyan Torah brings a raya that he was actually Yotzei the Megillah. Why? So he says an interesting thing. The Minchas Chinuch says, when somebody eats matzah, yeah, halachic questions, the beginning of the night he didn't have two Cyrus, he didn't have puberty yet. And he eats matzah. So his chiyuv was only midrabanan because he's not a gadol yet. Okay. Later, he becomes an adult. He has Beis Cyrus. So the Minchas Chinuch says he's Yotzei matzah because even though he was a katan, just like Yotzei Kiddush Shel Shabbos, according to many opinions, from Plaga Mincha, even though it's only midrabanan. So therefore, they taina that it was fine. Yeah, it's not a very interesting shaila that was brought up in Yerushalayim. It's really the question of the Chachamim when they were oiker, they were oiker the whole chiyuv, or they just said you can't do it on Shabbos, you do it on Friday. What if you can't do it on Friday? Like in his case, do you do it on Shabbos? So usually you don't do that because you're supposed to do it on Friday. But here you can't do it on Friday. So do you do it on Shabbos? But it's an interesting that some Rabbanim held that he should read the Megillah on Shabbos. That's a very interesting halacha. With a bracha and everything, read the Megillah on Shabbos.
Fail 1 year.
The day of the bar mitzvah.
Otherwise, you can wait till next year. He'll be Mekayim.
Okay, but it's this year is Mechuyev and Megillah.
Maybe they.
But again, others say you can't do that, and not only that, he was Yotzei already. He was Yotzei the chiyuv. Yeah. In other words, their taina is the second taina is that if you're Yotzei the chiyuv midrabanan, it works also for the chiyuv of Anshe Knesses Hagdolah. In other words, even though he was a katan, right, not a gadol. Especially the whole mitzvah is a mitzvah d'Rabbanan. In other words, you can argue, so what I would say, chinuch is a mitzvah d'Rabbanan. So the same Rabbanan who made the chiyuv of Purim also made the chiyuv of chinuch.
Oh, to begin with.
To beginning it's a mitzvah d'Rabbanan. So even though there's a difference even in the Rabbanan between a katan and a gadol, but perhaps, yeah, you were Yotzei, the chiyuv that you did, that you were Yotzei as a katan would work even for Purim. Because you did the mitzvah, you did the mitzvah as a katan. Especially that it's a mitzvah d'Rabbanan. Another question is Sfira Sa'omer, they ask the same question. Let's say I become a bar mitzvah middle of Sfira. Can I continue counting with a bracha? I counted till now. So some say I only counted at chinuch. But now it's not at chinuch anymore. So is my counting previously a part of the new counting? So you could say, yeah, you counted. What's the difference? No, but you only counted mitzat chinuch, and now you're only mechuyev. Now you're mechuyev as a gadol. So is the previous counting mitzvah to this counting?
Yeah,
now the Chris is also a question: is it minat Torah or midrabban? If he says it's minat Torah, yeah,
and then he's not mechuyev.
And now, right? If you say minat Torah, and now he's talking mechuyev minat Torah before he wasn't mechuyev minat Torah. If he says it's midrabban. Yeah, he was still mechuyev before midrabanan al chinuch, but not as a gadol. Here it's the rabbanan; it's not minat Torah. It's divrei kabbalah. It's divrei neviim. It's not mamash, but it's still a mitzvah divrei sofer.
He counted before. He doesn't do it.
So you could say that.
He wouldn't do it with a bracha if he counts before. Al chinuch.
You could do. You make a bracha al chinuch. Yeah, kids make brachas. Always, yeah. Kids make brachas.
Yeah. We had this shaila on my son here.
This class is brought to you by the yeshiva.net. Please help us continue the classes. Make even a small contribution at www.theyeshiva.net/donate.